introduction first. Okay. Oh, yeah. Hello, 大家好，歡迎嚟到升學界 channel，升學界花姐 channel. Hello everyone, this is Eve, kind of like recording this from London, and today we actually have two very special guests, and this is our very first special guest for this year. In 2026, because this episode will be broadcast on the 2nd of January. So welcome Quinton, welcome Patrik. Yay!
Thank you.
Right. If I can ask, maybe Quinton go first, then Patrik, maybe introduce yourself, give us a bit background, and I will talk to our audience why you both are here.
Of course. Thank you very much for having us here today. My name is Quinton. I'm Director of Programs for MWS. I studied at the University of Toronto, and during the summer, I worked directly with students at our programs, both in Toronto and Montreal.
And thanks very much, Eve, for having us. My name is Patrik. I'm the principal of MWS. I've been involved with this for about 30 plus years. Both in running the programs and working with representatives around the world, and very happy to be here. As with Quinton, very actively involved in the summer, have a chance to meet students from all over the world at our programs in Canada.
So if I just quickly do on Cantonese so that our audience know a little bit. 咁今次咧，我哋就請嚟咗兩位嘉賓啦。咁其實就係 Quinton 同 Patrik。咁點解突然間我哋會有兩個講英文嘅人士咧？最主要咧就係因為咧開始收到好多家長嘅查詢啦，就問我哋關於就係呢個Summer嘅暑期學校。咁我舊年咧就開始同佢哋呢兩位合作啦，就有兩位學生去咗啦，係非常非常地開心嘅。咁所以今次咧就不如唔係我講啦，由佢哋講啦。究竟關於一個暑期學校係點啦？加拿大嘅暑期學校係點？咁啊，亦都係由佢哋去介紹啦。So today I have two guests. Mainly because a lot of our parents are thinking of planning the summer camp, and we have been working together since last year and really, really impressed with your camp. And also it's from Canada. So I think it's just best rather than I do all the talking. I have you both kind of introduce your camp. MWS has been a camp for many, many years. Not before me, but just a little bit after me, because you started in 1983, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So just a little bit after me. So I'm going to let Quinton to introduce MWS, just in case if anyone wanted to learn more. The Hong Kong kind of representative is us, Elite Anglo-Chinese. So anything as usual, we've got our WhatsApp kind of number, and people can just WhatsApp us to get more information. So to you, Quinton, I'm going to help you to put that screen there. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Eve. So I'll let Patrik start by just talking a little bit about the history of MWS and the programs that we offer.
Sure, great, thanks. So Eve, as you mentioned, 1983, that's when we started. And our organization was started by Maxine Somerville, who's kind of one of the pioneers in language study in Canada. At that point, Canada was kind of a new destination, but a very interesting one for language study camps and programs. Wow, since 1983, we've introduced educational travel. We have 3 language camps, or Toronto English, Montreal English, and Montreal French. And we have something called the Next Step program, which is kind of a program for aspiring teens who are ready for the next stage in their life, whether it's going on to university or potentially moving away from home and becoming more independent for their studies. So that's the kind of the history of MWS.
So we're going to start by looking at our language camps. Can you see the Toronto English camps on the screen? Okay.
Yep, no problem.
So we're going to focus on our Toronto English camps, but everything is virtually the same for our Montreal English camps and our Montreal French camps. The only difference being the language and the location. So our Toronto English camps are operated out of the University of Toronto, specifically out of Victoria College, which is this building that you see here. And all of our camps are divided into 3 different age groups or sections. So we have the junior camp from 7 to 10-year-olds, the intermediate camp for 11 to 13-year-olds, and the senior camp for 14 to 17-year-olds. That means that the students are always spending time with other students of their age from around the world. This is really important for us because we understand that a student who is 8-year-old learns very different from a student who is 16 years old. And so the activities and excursions in the classes, in the staff, is all different depending on these different sections that we have. So this is our camp location, the University of Toronto. This that you can see here is the residence building that we use during the summer. And if you look at this bottom right window right there, that's my bedroom window. That's my home for the summer. You see all the flags there. Those are the different nationalities that we have represented each year. It's a historic campus. So it's a really beautiful place to call home for the summer. And it's right in the center of the city. So both in Montreal and in Toronto, we're right in the center. And this is really important for us because it allows us to leave campus every single day, at least once, to go and do different excursions and activities and see different things that the cities have to offer. So even though we're right in the center of the city, the campus is kind of isolated from the general public. So in each location, we have a quad, a green area in the center of the residences that makes us feel like we're in our own little bubble, almost in the woods. But we step 100 meters away and we're in the center of the city.
And maybe even something to add too with the flags there, which is really important. It kind of distinguishes us and makes us a little bit different, is that in our programs, all of the students are integrated with other students from other countries from the first day they arrive. So all of our counselor groups are mixed. You'll have a group of students from 7 or 8 different countries within one small counselor group. The idea here is that we really encourage English or French, depending on the camp, to be used at all times or as much as possible. And the goal here also is for the students to kind of meet friends their age from other countries in the world. So it's really an integrated program. We don't separate based on where students come from or even language ability within the structure. It's fully integrated.
One thing I need to mention is if you are thinking of coming from Hong Kong, I think we elites might be the one and only agents or representative for the camp. So if you can you tell me maybe in the past 3 years, do you have any Hong Kong students that come to your camp?
Yeah, so we do. We've actually had a school that has been sending their students from Hong Kong for almost 15 years now. And it's a great relationship that we have. And we also have individual students from Hong Kong who join us every summer of all ages. We've had kids as young as 8 years old from Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And we have had students in the Next Step program, which is for teens and from Hong Kong as well.
Yeah, so it's unlike anything like EF because I think a lot of the parents doesn't like I can say the name, EF style where they have such a big group and it really dominates. So with your camp, it is really welcoming if you're from different parts of the world.
Yeah, very much so. I think we were 30 different nations represented last year, just to give you an idea. And there never really is a dominating group of students from one particular country. So the mix is very key to us. And we have both individuals and small groups who come to the camps. So as mentioned to you earlier, from day one, students are separated and immersed with other students. It's kind of like a big family. Everybody knows each other really well. And they're encouraged to get out of their shell, to become more comfortable in trying to speak English or French, again, depending on the camp.
About the campus and University of Toronto, because I think last year I was trying to digest the whole camp to talk to my potential clients. It's really central, isn't it? There's like metro around. And if you want to go to, I think the Bay Area is also very easy to get to.
Yeah, exactly. We're steps away from Bay Street. and we're right in between the two subway lines that Toronto has. So the yellow line and the green line, we're right where those two lines intersect. We're right across the street from the ROM, the Royal Ontario Museum, Queen's Park, the Parliament buildings. It's really great location right outside of Yorkville, which is one of the best areas to shop in Toronto. So it's really great for being able to explore the city, especially in the summertime.
Yeah, the other thing I really like this camp with working with you guys before is that sometimes when you see a camp representative, I'm not going to name any companies now, the representative doesn't go to the camp. They are only available for sales. But Quinton yourself is going to be there, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Eve. As I said, Patrik and I are there all summer. That's my bedroom window right there. We're very actively involved. This is our home during the summertime. We're very actively involved in all the activities, excursions, everything on the day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so if you are watching this now, you need to screenshot Patrik and Quinton's face because this is how you recognize them when you arrive.
Yeah, you know, Eve, for many, many years, my wife and my sons would know that they would never see me in the summer because I was at the camps the whole time. And that's kind of our reality. I think both of us are very vested. We believe in this, and it's very important for us to be able to offer the personalized attention to be there. Both Toronto and Montreal, by the way. We take turns going to Montreal on a regular basis as well. So whether you are in Toronto or Montreal, you will see us both throughout the summer.
Cool. Thank you.
So we've just seen the outside of the residence. Let's go inside into one of the rooms. This is an example of a room in our Toronto English camps. So all of the residences are divided by gender and by age. So the junior boys are with the junior boys, the senior girls are with the senior girls. And all of our staff, our directors, our counselors, all live on site in the residence as well. So one of the first things we do when the students arrive is we show them their room, the bathroom, how everything works. And very important, we show them where the closest staff member lives to them. All of the doors have name tags. And so then the students know that if they have any issue during the night or at any point, they can always go and knock on Megan's door or Daniel's door, and they'll be there to help them 24/7. We have a mix of both single and double rooms, and 4 students share one bathroom in the residences. They're the residence buildings that the university students use during the school year. And during the summer, the university students leave, and we have the residences for us. They're our home. So it's a lot of fun because the students get to live kind of a taste of North American university life, what it's like to live in 2 of Canada's top universities. So it's really nice, kind of a fun experience in that sense. It is important to note that we don't spend a lot of time in the bedrooms. We'll talk a little bit later about the schedule and the different things that we do throughout the day. We really only use the rooms to sleep because we're out doing things in Toronto and Montreal all day long. Yeah. And just like we use the university residences to sleep, we also use the university dining halls for the majority of our meals. So this photo that you see here is the dining hall that we have in Toronto at the University of Toronto. We like to call it the Harry Potter dining hall. One of my favorite parts of the summer is seeing the new students come in and walk into the dining hall for the first time and look up and just, wow, every time they're always wow. It really is a great place to get up and have your breakfast to start your day and your lunch. It's really nice dining hall. And there's a lot of different variety of food options. So there's always various different entrees. There's always a vegetarian option available, salad bar, desserts, new soup every day. You really never get tired of the food. And another thing that we have on offer is that we once or twice a week go and eat at local restaurants in Toronto, in Montreal, and also when we're on tour on excursions in different cities in Canada, like Niagara Falls, for example. So that gives us the chance to eat at some of the local restaurants as well. I'll let Patrik talk a little bit about our staff.
Sure. Thanks, Quinton. So staff, I mean, ultimately as a principal, to me, the most important thing by far is the staff in the program. They're the ones who make the difference. As I'm sure you know from your past experiences, you could have fantastic facilities, but if you don't have the staff, it just doesn't do it. So for us, the training of the staff, the selection of the staff is very, very important. All of the directors are actively involved in interviewing all staff members, in training before the camp starts. All of our counselors are minimum age 18, average age 21 and 22. They're all university students in Canada, native English speakers for the English camps or French speakers for the French camps. They're the ones who are living with your children 24/7 in the bedrooms right beside the students' bedrooms, and they're taking the students on all the excursions, the activities, sitting with them at all meals. So they're kind of the mom and dad away from home role. The other staff that we have in the program are our teachers. These are the teachers who teach English or French. They are all fully qualified teachers with a master's in education degree. So pedagogically, our focus is on language learning, but not in a kind of a traditional way. It's really focused on the pedagogical background and the experience that these teachers have. So there you also see the student-staff ratio, something that's very important to us and I think sets us apart as well. We have a lot of staff in our programs.
Yeah.
You see the juniors 1:6 ratio, intermediates 1:8, seniors 1:10. It kind of gives us an opportunity to really provide individual attention to each of our campers.
I want to ask a little bit more about the use of these fully qualified teachers, because in a lot of the summer camps now, which I've done some before, we probably we're happy enough to use CELTA or Trinity kind of like trained teachers. Why did you want one step further to have someone fully qualified in education?
So we've done that from the very beginning, and kind of one of the things that set us apart. Two reasons, really. The first, ultimately, is because we're dealing with many different age groups. And the reality is that when you're teaching a 7 or an 8-year-old, the experience is very different than when working with an 11 or a 15 or a 16-year-old. So our view is that the pedagogical background is extremely important for that, to be able to relate to and teach each specific age group in the program. The other reality for us is that we want teachers who have the experience of scaffolding or doing other educational situations within their classroom, because even within a small classroom, and our classroom sizes are average of 12 students, a maximum of 16. That's a small class. And the classes are divided according to language ability and age. But even within that small class, you will have students at different levels. And it's important for the teachers to be able to differentiate their lessons, kind of challenge those kids in the class who are maybe at the higher end and help those out who are at the lower end. And that doesn't come from a CELTA or a short course in teaching languages. That comes from a pedagogical background in education, where you're kind of learning the theory and then you have first-hand experience in practicum sessions. So that was very important to us. And we've always kind of looked for that. And that's been one of the deciding differences for us.
I think that's very important. If I can tell you one of my little experience. So in uni, one of my first summer job was to work in a holiday camp, those day camps. And we went in, and of course it's so short staff that in the end I need to lead, I think it was there's a 9 to 11 years old group, but all I do is shouting. And they actually have a fully qualified teacher to help with the very young group, the 3 to 5, I think. And I can see the total difference, how you manage the kids, because you have that full training. And also I remember when I was doing our orientation, so it's like a group of us all wanting for summer work. There are some fully qualified teachers and some of us who never done it before. And we were put into scenarios. So for example, if you got a screaming kid or if a kid got very violent, what do you do? And the approach is totally different when you have that sort of training. it is very different, because when I was doing my CELTA, I actually went to my teacher and said, I'm going to run a summer school. It's like, oh, great. And I was like, it's for teenagers. You will need some extra training, because dealing with different age group, it's totally different. What's your experience, say, when you are taking because your junior camp has a 7 years old and the senior is around 14. Can you tell us what's the difference, kind of like working with different groups?
Yeah, absolutely, Eve. So it all starts in our recruitment process, in our hiring process. We have different staff designated for the different sections, because, as you say, it's very different working with different age groups. So there's certain skills that you need to be able to work with 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And there's certain skills that you need to be able to work with 7 and 8-year-olds. When you have students coming from another country across the world, oftentimes for the first time, and they're maybe 7 years old, it's important to make sure that they're brushing their teeth, to make sure that they're changing their shirt each day, to make sure that they're comfortable, that they're not homesick. So these are all things that, as you say, are part of our extensive training that we do, which is based on a lot of different scenarios and experiences that we've experienced over the past since 1983 of welcoming these students from other countries of different age groups. So it's all very focused depending on the section.
And Eve, I'll just very quickly add to that. I mean, the reality is that when you're working with seniors of 14 to 17 or 18-year-olds, the role of our counselor is more like a big brother or big sister, someone that you build respect with, who is able to pass on knowledge and experiences, but also that, campers look up to, and who can interest them or appeal to them based on their interests as a teenager. As Quinton mentioned, for the younger age groups, it's more of like a mother or a father role, to the point where a lot of our staff will read bedtime stories to the youngest kids at night, or just make sure to check in with them regularly to make sure that they're comfortable, they're eating properly, and so on. And just as a final point there, the 4 kind of directors and leaders of our programs in the summer, Quinton and I, who you see here, and Kiara and Emily, who you don't, who are not with us today, all of us come from educational background. Kiara has a master's in education. She's just finishing up internationally in Brussels. So all of us have the pedagogical base. We've all taught. Quinton has taught in Spain, English. I've taught in various places. So we are all coming from a certain perspective, which, we try to play out to make sure it follows through the program.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I guess to continue talking a little bit about classes, we've mentioned the small class size. That's something that's very important for us to be able to give that attention and focus to each student in the class. There's 3 hours of language class 5 days a week. In the next slide, Patrick's going to talk a little bit more about that. But we also have a first day evaluation to assess the students' language abilities. So before they get into any classroom, the very first thing that we do with the new students is we have a placement test. It's a very simple placement test. It's nothing to study for or prepare for or worry about, but it has an oral component, which is an interview with one of our certified teachers, a reading component, and a written component. From this placement test, we arrange the students based on their age and their language ability to put them into the appropriate classroom.
And to give you a sense of the classes, our educational component, the classes are all based on a very simplified IB system. So we take these general themes that we've had over many years and have developed, and the classes are all focused and centered around these themes. There's a basic core language study in every class, but most importantly for us is a project. So students are working on a project every week, either within a small group or just potentially with a partner. And they will present this project to the other students in their class or potentially the other students in the whole camp on the Saturday, which is the end of the week. This is very key because we want the students to become very comfortable in speaking and communicating. And the presentation skills are very key in this. So English is my second language. I learned it when I was 9, 10 years old. One of the things I remember was I was always encouraged to make mistakes because I learned from making mistakes. And that's something that we try to create in the classroom as well. An atmosphere where you don't need to be afraid to try because you learn by trying. So that's very, very key to us.
Can I just ask a bit about the English language requirement? So would you take someone who is very beginner level? And if we have someone very advanced, particularly in the older age group, so sometimes I might see someone which is on a C1. What do you do with them?
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead, Quinton.
Absolutely. So every summer we have students from a wide variety of different language abilities, just as you've described. So every year we have students who are brand new to the language. And so we have experience for that. We have teachers and staff who are trained to work with those students who are brand new to the language. And we have them every summer. We also have every summer students, as you've mentioned, often senior students who have a very advanced level of English. Maybe they've studied in bilingual schools. And they're preparing for university life. They're preparing for joining the workforce, for example. And so they're looking to perfect that. And so we also have classes for them that are focused on those more advanced levels of idioms, of debating skills, more professional types of the language. So we have a wide range of teachers in classes that are able to give that different focus and attention to each student, regardless of their language ability.
And Eve, I'll give you an example of a project that was done in an advanced senior class. These are 15 to 17-year-olds at an advanced level. As many of those students experience back home, their schools will have university fairs where different universities will come in to talk to them about their programs. So we set up a mock university fair where the students in the class are representing a university that many of them are either thinking of going to or aspiring or actually will be going to. And then within the camp section, they have their own booth that they set up and they have to advocate and kind of sell the university to the other students. So it's a level of English that is quite high that pushes them to communicate and also to kind of transmit their own goals and ideas. So the project is quite often is what distinguishes also the level of English ability. It really pushes those at an advanced level to a higher point.
Good.
So we've talked a lot about classes now. I think it's also important to touch on our excursions and activities. Our programs are a combination of classes and excursions and activities. And the excursions and activities are great because they give the students an opportunity to practice their English in a real-world setting, whether they're going to different shops and museums. And it's also, we want them to experience what Canada's like, what these different cities are like. Ultimately, you could have English classes at home in Hong Kong or in France or in Spain or wherever you're coming from. But we want them to have the experience of being in Canada and visiting these different places. So we always have different excursions each day, daily excursions, which are half day. And then we have 2 full day excursions per week, which we'll also see in the full schedule that we're going to show in the next slide. So our full day excursions, which we do on Wednesdays, are going to places like Niagara Falls, as you can see in this photo here. From Montreal, we go to Ottawa, Canada's capital. We go to Quebec City, a very beautiful historic city. So here we see an example of a full week schedule of the Junior Intermediate Camp in Toronto. This is from this past summer. So you'll see this Wednesday, we went to the Toronto Islands for the full day excursion, one of my favorite full day excursions. A very typical Canadian one. We roast marshmallows and make s'mores and spend all the day outside. Going to the CN Tower, bowling, Ripley's Aquarium, the best aquarium in Canada. Blue Jays game is always a highlight. You'll see here on the Tuesday, we had Halloween in July, which is a fun one as well. So we also organize our own activities, often culturally based, where the students are doing different things that we're organizing and preparing as MWS. Yeah. And all of these different activities and excursions are different depending on the age group. So Halloween in July is something that we do with the junior and intermediate campers. And the seniors, of course, have different types of excursions and activities that they do. You'll see here this week we have the juniors and intermediates have class in the morning. And so during that week, the seniors have class in the afternoon. And this alternates each week. So during the week after this, the juniors and intermediates will have class in the afternoon and activities or excursions.
Yeah. I want to say, if anyone is looking at this is what impressed me most, because as I run summer schools before, and what we tend to do is we offer less excursion, because that means we don't need to put a lot of effort or cost in. But having excursion every day is a lot of work. Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. You're right, but that's what ultimately our team does. And the neat thing that Quinton was talking about earlier is the location. Because we're so centrally located, it's really easy for us to go anywhere in Montreal or anywhere in Toronto. And we do a lot of walking. We take advantage of that. We use the local public transit, the subways, streetcars, buses. So at least once every single day, everybody leaves camp to go somewhere different in Toronto or in Montreal. That's sometimes twice a day, but at least once a day, we will leave campus to go explore something different.
Yeah, because often when I see a lot of the British camps, I mean, you won't be in a very central location. You will probably be quite far away. And this is something quite different when you have so many excursions. And in one way, I think when a kid comes so far away, they want to see the city. They want to see what Canada is about, not just being locked up in a campus and all they got is the teachers and the mates.
And it's a great way to practice the English or the French because they're kind of surrounded by the language. You know, they'll hear it on the street walking to the baseball game. They'll see it at the baseball game and everything that happens. So it's a really key way to kind of, as Quinton mentioned, you know, put what you learn into practice.
Mm.
And I think the next slide talking to you about the full immersion experience relates exactly to that. So that everything that you see and always is happening is in English. The classroom, the activities, the excursions. You know, our staff are actively involved to encourage the students to speak in English. For the younger students, there's positive reinforcement. We have camp dollars that students earn by speaking English at all times. And they're able to kind of collect this and buy a pizza party for their friends or a popsicle or whatever the case may be. It's kind of a positive way to encourage English at all times. It's a key thing too. For those students who are at a beginner level, a lot of hand gestures, a lot of body language that our staff are able to use in order to make sure that they understand, especially when it comes to safety, which is very key for us. So, you know, before going anywhere, everyone is very clear on what the instructions are on how we get on a subway, on how we walk as a group. All of that very key at all times.
Yeah.
To summarize our language camps, the programs are all included. So everything that we've talked about, the classes, excursions, activity, accommodation, weekly laundry, for example, medical insurance, all of the transports, the transfers to and from the airport, all of that is included in the program fees.
Yeah, I need to say, because nowadays a lot of the summer schools, they actually separate all this pricing aside. So for example, the airport transfer is definitely extra to what they see advertised. Also some of the excursion, the entrance fee, that would say the kids would need to pay for it. So this is, and also the medical insurance, although we always encourage people to buy their own overseas travel insurance, but you also include it is something that is something really good as well. So the parent doesn't need to worry picking up a call at midnight and doing a lot of work themselves.
Yeah, they you know, ultimately from the minute the plane arrives in Toronto or Montreal and we meet the students until we physically take them back to the airport, Our staff will check them in with the airline. They'll stay with them until they go through security to go to the gate. We assume full responsibility. So that's something very key for us. It's a huge responsibility, as I know you know from working and doing this for so many years.
Yeah.
I think, until the very last plane leaves, we feel like we have a big elephant on our back
Yes.
to make sure that everybody gets home safely. But it is
Yeah.
something we do across the board.
So we'll transition now from talking about our language camps, our Toronto English camps, Montreal English camps, and our Montreal French camps, to talk about our Next Step program. Before we talk about the Next Step program, we always like to talk about what the program is not. So it's not a language camp. There's no English language or French language classes. Everything is conducted entirely in English. So Next Step is a program that's designed to prepare teenagers for the next stage of their life. So it's for students who are 15 years or older in the calendar year, so in 2026. And the majority of the students are Canadian students and American students from the US, so native English speakers. But every summer, we also have international students from all over the world to join the program. So this is really nice because the students are with other students of their own age in spending time with other native English speakers. And so for this reason, it's really important that the students have a solid understanding of the English language. Our recommended level is at least around a B2 because, as I said, there's no English language classes. Everything is conducted entirely in English, all of the seminars and workshops. So it's really important for them to be able to benefit from the program, to have a solid understanding of English already.
So B2 in IELTS is around a 6.5, something like that?
Approximately, yeah. I think 6.5 and up. So it's to give you a sense.
So it's a 2-week program. We spend the first week in Toronto. So the students arrive to Toronto, spend 1 week at the University of Toronto, and then we transfer all together to go to Montreal, to McGill University. So again, it's really nice because they get, it's 2 weeks, but they get the opportunity to experience living in these two universities, in these two cities that are very different cities. For anyone who maybe hasn't been to either of these cities, Toronto is a very typical North American city. It's very big. There's a lot happening. And Montreal has more of a European aspect to it, between the architecture, the culture, the French influence. So it's really nice to get to combine these two cities into a 2-week program.
And ultimately, why would somebody take the next step? As you note here, there's confidence, responsibility, self-awareness, and leadership. But even more important than that is this idea that, especially since COVID, and I'm sure you've seen the difference, Eve, that there's been a lot of change in everyone. COVID has affected all of us in many different ways. And one of the key takeaways from our program is to make sure that students are ready for the next step in their life. It's not just a university, it's post-university. Because the reality is that when we all graduate from university, our degree says exactly the same thing. And then what do we do with that? How do we distinguish ourselves? How do we make ourselves stand out in a crowd when it comes to interviewing for a job or potentially a post-grad degree or anything else? So the goal here is for us to build those foundations as a teen in order to them to be successful by the time you get to those very important periods. So everything that we do in the next step is geared towards, as noted, kind of bringing you up to the next stage. And this ultimately is based on the 5 pillars, the foundation of the Next Step program, what we ultimately focus on during those 2-week periods. You can see the 5 pillars there, personal development. Specifically, when it comes to personal development, it's kind of finding out who you are. What are your strengths? Where can you kind of focus on to improve yourself? Also, things like body language. this is one of the really neat things about having students from around the world in the program. You're introducing intercultural communication, the reality that people communicate differently and think differently depending on where they're from and their own personal experiences. And it's great to see this in these small groups where kids will exchange ideas and the way that they think and learn on those principles.
The next pillar that we have for healthy living, for this pillar, we have, for example, a certified psychologist to come in and speak to the students. This is a certified psychologist who has experience working specifically with young people with mental health issues. So it's a psychologist who is very familiar with the problems and the stresses that students of that age face nowadays. And so can kind of give them some different ideas about healthy relationships, about managing stress in a time where you're transitioning between two different periods in your life. Another thing that we do for the healthy living pillar is first aid certification. So we have a certified first aid instructor to come in and lead the course with the students about first aid. And then they actually do the certification so that every student leaves the program also with the certificate from the Red Cross for first aid.
Wow.
The professional development Eve focuses on putting your best step forward. So how will you present yourself in the best way to an interview, whether it's for a university or a job? So what are some interviewing skills that are important to focus on? How do you prepare for an interview? Your resume. One of the things we do is we analyze resumes that have been submitted to us and to various organizations and kind of look for what are the key things that are important to make sure you stand out. And all of this with professionals in the field, again, who can focus in on and explain to the students, hey, this is what's really important. We'll do mock interviews. We'll do a lot of kind of hands-on activities to make sure that the professional development is the focus.
What's interesting for me is when we talked about this program last time we met, I was like, ooh, am I sure about this program? But listening in, what I want to tell my audience or the parents is just remember nowadays in your UCAS application, actually your personal statement needs to include, there's a question about what do you do outside academia. So what have you done outside your lessons, outside your schools, to help you to be the person you are, to know more about the subjects. And also sometimes I feel nowadays that sometimes the parents are too focused on the academic prospect. Yes, we need some good results to get into the university, but you also need to have those life skills to go into uni. Just for example, I know this is not a uni style, but I remember I met a very intelligent boy and I took care of him for 7 years. But when he came to me at 10 years old, it's okay, I can understand you don't know how to wear a tie, but I feel it's not okay not to know how to tie a shoelace, as that's 10. But often, even at the age of 15, 16, 17, often I look at my student, it's like, gosh, you have so many life skills, yet you don't know what to do. And I think this program actually helps them to get those life skills they need before they go to uni, rather than learning in university.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this earlier, Eve. Wasn't it the experience that we were relating of a university student who didn't wash their sheets, change their sheets until months and months into their experience?
Yes.
And, and it's kind of funny because ultimately that's one of those things that, we're finding lacking, the soft skills in a lot of young people. So the soft skills to be able to manage when you go away to university, it's the academic is there, but it's those soft skills that can make it really difficult. And we've seen and heard of lots of examples of students who have had to come home because they just were not able to manage on their own. So the academics wasn't an issue. It was life, the ability to be able to function on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, I still remember the entourage with that kid. So if anyone remembered that kid, he was actually featured in one of my episodes about what is the most outrageous things we know. Not changing bed sheets for a year in uni. That's one of the things. But the other is about the entourage of parents walking the kids into uni, and often for British family, they don't bring the grandparents, they just drive the car, go to the uni, go into the campus, dump their luggage, and off they went. Bye. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of what our home skills pillar also is specifically about. It's being able to take care of yourself. I know it's something that many of my friends and roommates didn't have when we went away to university for the first time. Okay, I have to admit, I guess I wasn't so savvy in my home skills as well. I had to learn the hard way when I went away to university the first time. And so that's what we'd like to do, is to ease that transition for these students.
And the last pillar, Eve, the financial literacy, another really important factor, because a lot of young people just don't know how to manage finances. And this is where, for example, from basic terms and understanding to actually budgeting for different things. So in this case, we have a financial advisor from one of Canada's top banks who comes in and talks to the students about how do you manage budgets? How do you create a budget for your university experience? How much are you going to be spending on your daily life, on books, on academia, on going out with friends? And also ultimately to introduce them to some basic banking and investment terms and ideas, so that students can start to think already as to, what are some things that I should think about in regards to the future.
It's good that you talk about budgeting. So recently I've got this kid, been taking care of him since he was 14, but he can't do any budgeting. And then when he grew up and going to uni, mom actually paid me a fee to give him pocket money, because if not, he would argue with his mom on money. And the mom say, if I'm the one to manage his money, he would just spend everything you put in, he's going to spend. But what this kid did, he still doesn't know how to budget. So for example, I got £1,000 a month, and then we would discuss in the company and say, right, what are we going to do this month? Are we going to give him weekly? Are we going to do it twice a month? Or are we going to do it monthly? And in the end, he gets his pocket money twice a month. But towards the end, he just find a way and say, can I have my money earlier? Can I do this? Can I do that? And I went to mom and was like, look, I don't feel very comfortable managing his pocket money. And he's a year one student. And she said to me, actually, I don't think I need your help, because he's just getting money from everywhere else. So mom actually secretly gave him another credit card, and he just used it for Uber Eats. And that's it. And I think he spent another £1,000 on that, and he got £1,000 on me. I just don't know how he's going to survive after uni. He probably have all the money he can get, but I always say to him, look, kid, if you're using the latest iPhone, you make sure you need to earn as much money to get your latest iPhone. The way you're spending, I don't know where you're going to end up in.
Yeah, at some point, there's a big dose of reality that just comes splashing in. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, please. Please teach them how to budget.
And that's kind of, we use two kind of sides to teach these things, which is the guest speakers, as we've mentioned a couple of times, who come to speak to the students about these different topics. And then we have the workshops, which is where they actually have to put into practice what they've learned and to make sure that they actually learn it. So as you'll see here in this sample day, we have our seminar, Breaking the Piggy Bank, which is where we have one of our financial advisors come in. And then the workshop, this workshop in particular is called Life Role Play for Today. So it's a modified version of the game of life, where it's based on finances. And so the students have to make different financial decisions in their university life, and they had to see what effect it has on them in their lives from a financial perspective. So they're actually having to make these decisions and put into practice what they learned in the seminar. So those seminars and workshops, we combine them also with excursions to be able to go out and explore the different things that Toronto and Montreal have to offer. So as you'll see here, we'll just take a brief look at the full schedule from this past summer. So with week 1 in Toronto, again, we also have full day excursions on the Wednesday. And our next step team. So our next step team can be divided into 2 parts. We have the seminar and workshop delivery team, as we've mentioned a couple times, the different guest speakers from their fields. And then we have the next step program leaders. The next step program leaders are our MWS staff, who are the ones who are with the students during all the workshops and excursions, meals, and they're living on site with them. These are students who are in their final years of university. They have experience working with young people. And perhaps most importantly, they have experience of going through this transitionary stage of their life, this next step of their life. So they've learned, often the hard way, about topics like financial literacy, home skills, professional development. And so they serve again kind of as mentors. They're really easy for the students to talk to about different things of, hey, what's it like going to university for the first time, and how is that transition? So they form really great bonds with the program leaders. And for meals and accommodation, it's all the same as in our language camps. So again, at McGill University in Montreal, in Toronto, at the University of Toronto, both single and double rooms that we have available. And then here we see some photos of the excursions that we do each day. And then these are the 2 full day excursions that we do. So from Toronto, we go to Niagara Falls on the Wednesday. And from Montreal, we go to Quebec City on the Wednesday.
And because you're spending a week in Montreal and then a week in Toronto, MWS is going to be responsible taking the students between the cities, right?
Exactly. So on the Sunday, we transfer from Toronto to Montreal. So we do that by train or by coach bus, and again with all of our staff as well. So all of the next step program leaders go with the students to Montreal that day.
And is there a specific that you're only offering the next step program?
Yes, so we have 2 session dates available. So we'll share those, and maybe you can link them to those. There's 2 sessions, one that starts at the end of June and one that starts July 19th.
Oh, okay. July 19th.
Yes.
Yes. And can students only join the next step program without joining the language camp?
Absolutely. So they're separate programs. You can register for the next step program. You can register for one of our language camps, or every summer we also have students who combine them. So they combine the next step program if they want to do, for example, 2 weeks of next step and 1 or 2 weeks of French camp or English camp. We can always combine those as well.
Okay.
It's a pretty popular thing with a lot of our American students who come up who are looking at McGill University in Montreal as a place of study. And they kind of like to get a bit of a brush up on basic French skills. So they'll combine the 2 programs together. So, and on that point, one of the real big pluses of the next step is that you're really experiencing university life. You are staying at, Canada's top 2 universities, living in the residences of the students, eating in the dining hall, using the classroom facilities, being taught by staff who either are involved with the university as students or staff members. So it's about as close to a real university experience as you can get in a short period of time during the summer. So
cool.
And just like our language camps, the program is all inclusive. So the first aid certification, all of the meals, medical insurance, workshops, and seminars are all included as well in the program.
Okay. And so if anyone is interested, please contact us. Although in the description of this live video, I will put the MWS Camp website and also different information in. But as the Hong Kong and China representative, if you are interested, you can come to us and apply for this camp. For anyone who is still listening, I actually had one student in the Toronto camp last year, and it's a very interesting one because she joined one of our UK immersion course in near Manchester in February. It was a real boarding school experience for 2 weeks. So she was all dressed up in uniform. She was going to classes every day. And then she came back and it's like, right, the mom is definitely wanting a kind of experience for her in different countries. So I contact you guys and said, I've got a student for you. And she came. She loved it so much. And she is applying for a Canadian boarding school straight after your camp. So I have all the confidence that anyone joining your camp will have a good time.
Thanks, Eve. That's very kind of you to share. And as you mentioned, I mean, as a representative in Hong Kong, you're the key person. You know the program. You're able to provide a level of comfort and security to the parents. I mean, I think it's great for the parents to be able to meet Quinton and I online and to see us. But ultimately, also in Hong Kong, it's very important to have that connection so that, everyone feels very assured of the program they've chosen.
Yeah, and also it's interesting. So everyone knows I kind of in between Hong Kong and London, but Quinton and Patrik actually met Chloe in our Hong Kong office as well. And Chloe has been the one who helped to liaise with our student who attended your camp this year. So Chloe knows everything about your camp as well. So thank you very much. Right, some key points. Do you mind quickly kind of like mention what is the price per week or for 2 weeks program? I think it was like...
Yeah, Quinton's going to shoot that up for you in 1 second. He's going to...
Okay, no problem.
So the minimum stay in our programs is 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, I would say the vast majority of the students who come to our programs are there for 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
So Quinton will share the price with you there.
Okay.
So the 2 week price in Canadian dollars is $6,185.
Yep, no problem. Let me just get my xe.com and then have a look.
And you use that as well, do you, Eve? That's funny.
I do.
Yeah,
I
so
do.
So do I.
Yeah, I find it quite reliable. So Canadian dollars 6,400?
6,185.
185. So that would be around 35,000 Hong Kong dollars for 2 weeks. And then all you need to do on top of that is the flight, but you will take care of everything. So even if a parent is arranging the so-called the unaccompanied minor, you'll be able to pick them up from the airport, right?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's nothing. Is there a application deadline? So obviously you're open for application now, but if someone is still watching this video in June of 2026, can they still apply, or there is a deadline, or you fill up so quickly?
So we don't have a specific deadline. We accept students until we reach capacity, until we don't have availability for certain weeks. So it would just be making sure that you register on time for that. And for our international students, depending on the country that they come from, normally one of their main concerns is visa processing time. So if they require a visa to come into Canada, then they want to make sure that they have enough time that they can do that before joining our programs.
Oh, I see. And also, I remember you said your camp starts from end of June. Can you tell us which week is the most popular? Now, I can tell you, for Hong Kong students, they tend to prefer the last week of July and first week of August. Is that the same?
It's we would tell you that the last 2 weeks of July, the second half of July is always the busiest because it it provides an opportunity for most students from around the world to come to
Yeah.
camp based on their own summer vacation. So when you were asking about availability, those last 2 weeks in July tend to be full the fastest, or fill up the fastest, pardon me. But going into August is a little bit easier, and at the beginning of the program at the end of June is a little bit easier as well.
Yeah. And very finally, if anyone are interested, but they want to talk to someone other than me, can they come and ask for a representative from MWS to talk to?
Absolutely. We're always happy to hold Q&A sessions with parents via Zoom. It's something that we do throughout the year so that parents have the chance to meet and speak to one of our directors and ask any questions that they might have. We understand it's a big decision, and so we're always happy to talk to families about our programs and answer any questions they might have.
Okay, so thank you very much for today. We were so bang on time. My timer says, yep, 1 hour now. So thank you, Quinton. Thank you, Patrik, for doing this recording with me during the Christmas period. So thanks, everyone. I'm going to end this recording now. Thank you. Bye. Just stay online.